So
Yes.
how has AI impacted your job?
Well, well, let's just say I still have a job, so that's one positive thing.
Right, good, well done.
Um,
Yeah,
but I work in marketing, and marketing is one of those sectors which I think is under the firing line. I think that it's a lot of what I do. So I'm a copywriter by trade, but equally I work alongside designers, and actually a lot of the tools that are coming through look at, hey, I can write a blog for you, or I can do the research for you, or I can like create a video for you. So you're kind of starting to see a lot of these creative use cases coming through. And we have an incredible chief product officer at my current place. And he is very like hot on AI. So actually what I'm finding in my current role is a lot of pressure from my organization, in particular, my product officer, to adopt AI wherever we can and to try and
right.
seek out those use cases to make sure that we are applying it wherever we can. And my issue with that, to an extent, because again, to your point, I wrote a post on LinkedIn basically saying like, if AI is doing all our work for us and robots are kind of, doing the factories and people don't have jobs anymore, like what happens next? And somebody wrote in a comment and basically said that, it's change anxiety. That's all it is. It's change anxiety. And I
Right.
was thinking that's such an
We're going to talk about this sort of
oversimplification.
end game, aren't we? A lot more
Absolutely. Yeah.
later
Yeah.
on. And I would love to
Yeah.
explore that a bit later, but yeah, yeah.
But to your point, the second you raise your hand to say like, oh, actually, I've got some concerns here, everyone's like, no, you're just nervous about change. And so I don't think
Right.
that's what it is. And occasionally I've said to my CPO, I was like, if you want us to adopt this, are we taking into consideration, because a lot of it is around efficiencies. We want AI so people become more efficient. And I was like, is it more efficient, or are you just half in my deadline and expecting
Hmm.
me to deliver double the work, at which point we're doing quantity over quality and all that kind of stuff. So my concern with just rolling AI out for as many use cases as possible is I think that we lose some of the humanity in the work that we do. I also think that we're not always thinking about what's actually best for the organization. We're just speeding
Right.
things up, and that doesn't
But
necessarily get us the
let
results
me
we
be
want.
provocative. Okay. So,
Yeah.
there's a bunch of people who do not know how to create content, right? You're an expert in
Mm-hmm.
that. That's your job. And there's a bunch of people who just don't know, but they want to create
Yeah.
content.
Yeah.
Suddenly they've got this amazing tool where they can just, describe roughly what they want. Out comes the material, and they've got for listeners, I'm doing the fingers in the air thing, professional
Yeah.
output. What's wrong with that? Why wouldn't your company, if we go to the end game, why wouldn't they remove you because you're a human that's expensive, and just have,
Yeah.
a 15-year-old somewhere writing 10 blog posts a day instead of the one that you create every 3 or 4 or 5 days or whatever it is?
So I think the fundamental question here is like, why do we read?
Why
Like,
do we
what is
read?
it?
Okay. Yeah.
Are we just trying to extract information? Because to your point, then AI can absolutely do that, right? It's spitting out some regurgitated information that is learned from a large language model, right? That's essentially what
Right.
generative AI is. But it's producing it in a way that kind of has its own voice. But that's also a concern, because then that own voice becomes everyone's voice because everyone's using the platform. So it's one thing. The second thing is, do we read? Because again, this is me coming, I have a history of literature. So there's a bit of romanticism here, but like, do we read because we actually want to hear other people's voices and we actually want to hear their views of the world and not just how AI sees it? And I think the third thing here as well is this is actually ironic. So I'm dyslexic, which is really funny. So I spent a lot of my life trying to make sure that my spelling is spot on. And now it's got to the point where, because everyone's using AI, everyone is too perfect. And so
Mm-hmm.
things such as like CV builders and cover letters and blogs on like LinkedIn, etc., people don't trust them anymore because they're too perfect. And so
Yeah.
weirdly, actually throwing in a spelling mistake here and there makes it feel more human again. So maybe my dyslexia will have a superpower again. But it's just interesting that actually it's almost it's gone so far that everyone is writing so well, that we don't have the differentiator anymore. So I don't know, part of me feels that there's more to writing than just throwing words into a chat bot and kind of getting it back out again. um but yeah, then also again, I think at this moment in time, there's now more AI generated content online than human generated content. So it is also going to get to a point where it's just talking to itself, it's regurgitating what it is saying, and it becomes like smokes and mirrors because you're not really sure where
Yeah.
this information is coming from
Eventually you
because
get
it's
just like
writing itself.
one thread coming out, don't
100%.
you? Because it's like, yeah, this
Yeah.
is the completely perfect distilled version of everything I've
Yeah.
ever seen before. Yeah.
And, you know, I totally get it. If you are running a very small business and you're a one-man band and you're trying to like do your marketing as well as your business and your sales, etc., I totally understand having something being able to kind of speed up your content creation. Marvelous, right? And considering most copywriters are about £1,000 a blog, I get it. You're saving money, you're saving time. Totally understand. But I do feel that actually in a world, like getting to the point where like if you even just look at cars, car models, the amount of cars which are now like just white, black, or
Bland.
grey,
They're bland,
you
aren't
know,
they? Yeah,
really
yeah,
bland. And I just
yeah.
had this real fear that, you know, like humans aren't bland. Humans are messy and complicated. And I just fear that our AI won't reflect that after a while.